Our freedom is in Christ. Our freedom is in Christ. This passage is all about freedom. Christ is our head. He is our authority. We now have freedom to worship Him alone. Freedom from all of the rules and regulations. We can look at other ways Christ has freed us from this passage. He's freed us from death. Death has lost its sting. Death is no longer scary because we know when we die, we will now see God face to face because Christ is going to usher us right into the Father's presence. We're free from the power of sin. This is clear from Romans 6. We no longer have to obey that master. It constantly tempts us and tries to trick us into believing it is Lord over us. It's constantly present in us, but it no longer has authority over us. A greater power has loosened those chains. We're free from self-righteousness. We no longer have to worry about being good enough. I should rather say we should no longer worry about being good enough. The constant temptation is to wonder, am I good enough for Christ to love? That is something we all will constantly ask ourselves. And we have to be reminded we were never good enough for Christ to love. We've always been sinners in need of His love and His grace. I recently found an introduction to an article by B.B. Warfield. And he's describing the essence of Christianity. And this is really the best way, I think, in how he defines Reformed Christianity. We'll put this in the Evangel. It belongs to the very essence of the type of Christianity propagated by the Reformation that the believer should feel himself continuously unworthy of the grace by which he lives. At the center of this type of Christianity lies the contrast of sin and grace. And about this center, everything else resolves. This is in large part the meaning of the emphasis put in this type of Christianity on justification by faith. It is its conviction that there is nothing in us or done by us at any stage of our earthly development because of which we are accepted to God. We must always be accepted for Christ's sake, or we cannot ever be accepted at all. This is not true of us only when we believe. It is just as true after we have believed. It will continue to be true as long as we live. Our need of Christ does not cease with our believing, nor does the nature of our relation to Him or to God through Him ever alter. No matter what our attainments in Christian graces or our achievements in Christian behavior may be, it is always on His blood and righteousness alone that we can rest. There is never anything that we are or have or do that can take His place, that can take a place along with Him. We are always unworthy. And all that we have or do of good is always of pure grace. Though blessed with every spiritual blessing in the heaven lies within Christ, we are still in ourselves just miserable sinners. Miserable sinners saved by grace to be sure, but miserable sinners still, deserving in ourselves nothing but everlasting wrath. That is the attitude which the Reformers took, and that is the attitude which the Protestant world has learned from the Reformers to take toward the relation of believers to Christ. Friends, we must always remember that we were, are, and will always be absolutely dependent upon the grace of Christ. It's so easy to think about what we've accomplished, how much farther we are down the road than we were 10 years ago. If we remember that it is only by God's grace we've made any progress in fighting against our sin. It's only by God's grace that we are in any better state of loving and caring for others.